Thank you.
My spark was the '08 presidential elections. That was my spark.
On this day, we come to proclaim an end to the petty grievances and false promises, the recriminations and worn out dogmas.
You could just imagine me in front of a big, fat TV, sitting with my mother and the family, watching a black president going up to the Capitol to be our president, well, to be the president.
The time has come to reaffirm our enduring spirit.
The historical inauguration of United States President Barack Obama in 2008 unearthed a passion for leadership and dedication to public service in the life of Kelron Bellot. Today, he is building on this unveiled purpose as a national youth leader on his island of St.Maarten. We'll take a closer look at his journey as he seeks to ignite change in his island community. This is In Focus. Kelron Joshua Prince Bellot, aka Bello, for persons who might not know. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
I'm happy to have you, and I'm happy to discuss. But I'm happy to have a good conversation. That's the important thing. Something that's beneficial and probably a little bit entertaining. We never know. Fun fact: while you were a student at Mac, you penned and produced their school song. Your legacy has been left at Mac forever. What does that feel like?
You feel good.
Yeah?
You must feel good. I mean, being a student, being able to pen words to a paper and for it to have an impact on your school and stay there, you must feel good.
Do you think, has anybody ever come and, was anybody ever surprised? Ever said, did you write the school song? No?
Not as yet.
Not as yet. Surprises if you're looking on, maybe you might not want to ask for an autograph sometime soon.
Maybe at my 50th birthday.
Okay. You're on a journey of leadership, public representation. You're passionate about representing people. Everybody has a spark that sets them on a journey. What was your spark?
My spark was the '08 presidential elections. That was my spark. You could just imagine me in front of a big, fat TV, sitting with my mother and the family, watching a black president going up to the Capitol to be our president, well, to be the president.
Yeah. I mean, we all felt like he was our president.
Listen, it felt so.
Yeah.
It felt like that.
But the thing is, I know that played a vital role in sending you on and you know, allowing you to believe that you are one who can make a difference in your little community. And that led you into politics, where we get into soon. However, for other persons, it might just have been a happy moment. It might just have been one of the most memorable moments that they would ever experience. Why did it influence you in that way? What seeds were set in the beginning that made it that when that connection happened, everything just enveloped into, I want to be somebody who makes a difference in my community?
You know, first it started off as a joke. Being in that political field with my mother and the love we had for it.
Yeah.
It started off, you know, in the house. Yes, Mr. President, come here. And, you know, going into family reunions and being able to get the little tickles and love of being the president. I was like, that have a good ring to it.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, some things took me back and I was like, okay, this has to lead me into the politics because I'm not that smart when I was young. I wasn't that into learning. But lo and behold, it was more of me not grasping the knowledge I needed from my teachers and the school because they couldn't accommodate me at the time.
Yeah.
I'm a person who needs to see. I need to touch. I need to understand and have different scenarios brought into the learning aspect for me to learn in that way.
Yeah.
And not having that really pushed me into the side of, okay, this is not for me. And I was a little shy but it made me think and wonder, what if I can actually change this? What if I could do this a different way? And it led me into the thoughts and thinking of doing that.
You mentioned to me before that your mom actually had a major part to play in this whole journey and in introducing you to politics and leadership. Speak on that for me a little bit.
As a young girl, she told me that her grandmother, my great grandmother, would take her out from school and bring her down the road and say, "Labor, Virginia, put up your hand, say labor, labor." And growing up, she brought that love into our household.
Yeah.
So at the time, we supported a certain political party and we had to wear our shirts. We had to sing the songs and rally around them.
Yeah.
You know, that is the love I had for the family ship back then. Then went into the politics arena and its love.
Yeah. If you should, considering all of this, if you should coin a purpose statement to let persons know what your purpose is, what would that statement be?
My purpose is to serve.
Serve.
That's it.
Simple.
Serve.
And that is because of the influence you would have had by your mom,
by my mom,
teachers,
yep,
the school community.
Can you imagine that right after watching the OA stuff and the love for it, my mother gifted me a book. And knowing that I wasn't really into the reading back then, she took time with me with this special book. And why I say it was special, because it was some articles from her days about the Labour Party. And I was like, okay, and this is moments that she and my father would come to me and we would spend time reading this book, and she had me reading speeches.
Yeah.
So she took the learning ability into making it something that I said I wanted to be. Yeah. She said, Kelron, if you want to be in power, you have to read.
Wow.
Knowing that I didn't want to read, she made it into a fun way. She said, read this, use your preacher's voice. And then in church, I used to do some preaching back then. So she was like, okay, use your preacher's voice and preach to us.
Yeah.
And I started learning to read, and I keep reading, and I kept reading. And ever that day, she started buying me newspapers from the Daily Herald when it was 50 cents. And I could remember reading them in the morning before I went to school, and the love for news and knowing of the current affairs in the country started all from there.
I know that you're passionate about education, and we'll get into detail into that very soon. However, outside of the classroom, it just goes to show the importance of education within the household. And, you know, many more families, many more young men need to get this type of education, don't you think?
I think so.
Yeah. What steps must be taken to ensure that purpose becomes something that is actionable? Because a seed was sown, your mom is behind you, and she's saying, hey, if you want to do this, do this. You felt compelled to go into a certain direction. You're in line with your purpose. What steps must be taken? This is for anybody who's listening to know what they should do next to ensure that what they're feeling, that conviction that they have, should become something that is actionable and visible and valuable. How do they go about doing that?
Never sit. Just never sit and think it would happen. You have to work towards what you want.
Yeah.
If you want to see yourself go into this direction, you have to put in the work, get the knowledge, and go for it.
Yeah.
Don't ever sit down and think it will come to you, you know.
Yeah.
You have to push yourself to what you believe and what you want. That is how it happens. Dedication, determination.
But there are so many obstacles, especially on St.Maarten.
Yes.
For young people. St.Maarten is a very ageist society. Actually, just about 44%, well, the majority of the population, 44%, are older, are between the ages of 45 to 64. So you can imagine, if you do your math in some other time, you can imagine where the younger population is. It's more a lot of older folks. So persons might hear and say, hey, I want to go for my dreams, but I'm living on St.Maarten. Isn't that a challenge? How can they surmount that hurdle?
I know it's a challenge. You don't have to tell me. Because I know the system is shaped in a way that we have to stay and work so hard and then leave.
Yeah.
And you know your dream by then would be washed away.
Yeah.
But you have to stay focused. What I believe young people should do is, if you really want it, go for it.
Yeah.
You need to go for it. That's the only way.
Mentorship is something that's important. And it's clear that you had your mentors growing up. Your mom, to just name one of them, because I would imagine that there was your grandma and other family members and so forth. And the church.
The church.
Wow. But when it comes to Now, on this journey that you're on, no pun intended, this journey that you're on, who would you say is your mentor at this moment?
So persons I would look at before when I was younger was our then governor, Eugene Holiday. You know, he worked in a lot of sectors in this country, and watching him being able to grow before being governor, working in the airport, the central bank, he was moving around a lot, and persons took advantage of him in a good way because he had knowledge and the dedication to work for his country. Yeah. But fast forwarding, I kept up to date with Dr. Eugene Holiday. But moving over into the political side, I look at my party leader, Christophe Emmanuel.
And he's a person that splits opinion.
Splits it.
You either like him or you hate him.
Yes.
If I met him for the first, or if I wanted to meet him tomorrow, and I'm asking you to introduce me to this guy or tell me about him, what would you say? What are the qualities that he has that that probably cause this person to either like him or hate him? They sway one. There's no in between with him. Why do you think that is?
Because he says what he says, and it's maybe how he says it. But listen, he has a love and a dedication for his country. Yeah. So the things he might say might come off a bit harsh, but to tell you the truth, behind of that, he's a good listener. Yeah. He's a good listener. He loves to analyze things in the way of, Kelron, do you think this is going to work? Team, what's the other solutions you may have? Yeah. He likes to work with people. And that is one thing I don't think people know about him. Yeah. He is not a man by himself. He's not.
And those are some of the qualities that you try to emulate as well, I assume. Yes. As it relates to things that people are passionate about, one of those things that you're passionate, very vocal about, is the education sector of the island. Yes. We know there's no secret. There's so many challenges that are hitting the education sector, whether it's teachers' compensation, whether it's early childhood education not getting enough attention and development, whether it's the lack of development for persons with disability in the education sector. You have your ears on the ground. What is the common denominator? What is something that people say, hey, this is what we need. Above all else, this is what we need.
We need better wages and more support. That is what they need. You know, as you rightfully said, my mother herself is an educator. Yes. So I know the cries she would have at home. I know the burden she has to go through to get certain stuff done for not only herself, but her classroom and her students. Yeah. So growing up, I'm like, mommy's upset because she needs these things in the classroom, and then she would have to pull it out of her pocket. But she needs to do it because she wants to see the classroom decorated in a certain way. She wants these type of charts on the wall. So, you know, putting in the work to actually see what you want for your students is what propelled my mother to go forward in getting those stuff. But I believe our teachers at some point need a certain level of support from the government to say, hey, teachers, this is for you. The beginning of the year is coming up. Let's divide it up. Cycle 1, this, that. Yeah. And you get this for your classroom, whatever you need. Yeah. I believe something as simple as that can be done for our teachers along with better wages. Yeah. Because it's saying more of, we're here to help you. Yes. Because at the end of the day, it's less of you and more of the children. Because they are the ones who are going to be building this country forward. Yeah. Yeah.
What the thing is, not only at St.Maarten, and there are certain professions that always find a hard time to get support. Yeah. Teachers, nurses, that's a big one. Police. Police. Yeah. Why do you think it's so difficult for these professions to get the attention and the investment that is needed outside of government support? Because I don't want to say it's easy, but it's a straightforward thing to do. Why is our approach different to these professions? Why do you think persons overlook the support that they need?
You know, I keep thinking about it and I'm saying maybe it's more of they'll just do it because they love it. So let's focus on something else. Yeah. Let's take example for our nurses. They work hours upon hours. They love what they do, but I think we should support them a bit more and saying, hey, you're one of our frontliners. We appreciate you. This is for you. Not only when Nurses Day come about, we get up and take a picture and say, hi, happy Nurses Day. But I believe we should stand out more and show more appreciation to the different types of groups, our teachers, police officers, and nurses.
Yeah. Moving away from education, something that you already also passionate about, the involvement of young people in building St.Maarten. If I recall correctly, I think you said something along the lines of the young people are the best chance that St.Maarten has for success and development. Something along that line. We got a lot of fight as young people on St.Maarten. Do you think there's any hope in young people being recognized and understanding that they are the change that St.Maarten needs?
I believe we will.
What do you think needs to happen so that young people can be looked at and be treated as such?
We need to be involved. Involvement is important. You're looking at early childhood. You're saying, okay, we need to make a curriculum for young people. We all need to be in sync together.
Yeah.
And then moving into high school. Growing up in high school, Quinell, did you have student representation in school?
Yes.
You know, and it's not something everyone has. Your school might have it.
Yeah.
Ours might not. And going to school, it was not something that we had. So we had students who wanted to be leaders, who wanted to see certain things change in school.
Yeah.
But they had to complain to the principal, wait for something to happen, and then it dies down.
Yeah.
So I believe we need to involve young people more into the things they want to see done, and we're actually going to get it done.
But the thing is, this is a challenge. Involvement is good. However, I would assume that many persons aren't involving young people because they don't think that they can be up to the task. And here's why I say it might be fair to say that, because on the other end, we're not developing our young people. You mentioned the university that needs development, accreditation, recognition internationally. Many of our young people, they go away and they choose not to come back. And there's many reasons for that. So we can fix early childhood education, but how do we address the entire system? Where do we go with that? Whose responsibility is it?
Again, the responsibility lies on your upbringing and then subsequently the government.
Yeah.
Because your love for your country and your family comes from your family. But at the same time, you know, young people want to branch off. They want to spread their wings, because you would hear the terms, I'm not coming back because they can't pay me well, or there's no jobs and no this and no that. I would come back and they would have to find a job for me. I'm sorry, but they're going to gotta get it.
Yeah.
Because you sent me to study this and say it's priority.
Yeah.
So there must be job openings. But I would tell young people, come home. We need you. Your help is very much needed in this country.
Yeah.
Because again, you touched it, the education system.
Yeah.
The University of St.Maarten right now is a hotel. We are housing UVI over here.
I see.
So we're making the name UVI big because it's USM UVI. What about USM being USM?
Yeah.
And I'm about to say the United Student, the University of St.Maarten.
Yeah.
It needs to be that. We need to stand up on our own, get the accreditation that is needed for actually students to come from Guyana, Dominica, St. Lucia, and come to St.Maarten.
Yeah.
We're expanding educational tourism, and then you're bringing more people into this country.
Yeah. That's a very valid point indeed. The thing is, when you speak like this with so much passion, with so much conviction, and people can hear, okay, he's onto something, other persons think this young man don't know what he's talking about. Because as we said before, St.Maarten, a majority of the population, they're very mature. We're not going to call people old because a lot of people don't like that. They're very mature. They're not young. We don't have a young population. So it is true that young people tend to be overlooked many times on St.Maarten. How do you break that mold? How does somebody like yourself stand up and say, hey, you got to listen to me. We are here and we need to make change. How do you get that message through?
That's the $1 million question. How do you do it? And thinking about it, I'm saying, well, how we could do that or break the chain is by squeezing ourselves in.
Yeah.
They're not going to place a welcome mat and say, young people, the door is open. You have to build that door and actually let yourself in. Make yourself be seen and heard.
Yeah. When it comes to experience, Kelron, and you're entering a political area, it's not very forgiving, the political arena. Persons tend to be very barbaric at times, and they would come at you from all angles. There's a certain experience that somebody might say is needed to survive, for want of a better word, in this area. You said during your launch, through my life experiences, I have come to realize my sole purpose is to help as many people, no matter where they are from or what they have been through. It's a good thought. Life experience, though. What life experience? Because person might say you're only 21, you haven't turned 22 as yet. When you say life experience, what exactly do you mean?
Living through the experiences, living on St.Maarten, seeing again the education, the youth involvement, the culture, looking at all these things I have experienced. I traveled. I went to school. I am here now and I'm saying, okay, I see how Jamaica is doing something. Why can't we apply it here for us?
Yeah.
Quinell, we've been to Jamaica.
Yeah.
They love their culture.
They do.
What is our culture here in St.Maarten? That's the question.
It is.
So I have not lived the life, but I've been through the experience.
Yeah. So let's say somebody asks then, you have passion, you're patriotic, you love St.Maarten, you come from a good foundation with your mom and everything, you're a sound young man. Is that enough for somebody to put a trust in you and say, hey, I need this guy to be in a representational seat on my behalf. I need him to speak on my behalf. Is patriotism enough? Is passion enough? Is a young face enough for somebody to put their full trust and faith in you? Why is that enough?
The honest answer is it's not enough. It is not enough because an older person would watch me and say, you don't have the qualifications. You don't have the age that is needed to be in that position. But then I would turn to them nicely and say, but we have persons there now with their bachelors, their masters and PhDs. And what changes have you seen? They have the age. They're dying there with the age. And they are not giving us what is needed in this country.
Yeah.
That is what I would hit them with.
The thing is, though, do you think there's any danger in... Well, I think I know the answer to this, but I'm still going to ask you. Is there any danger in too many young persons like yourself stepping up to the plate and say, we want to act like we want to be the next Kelron. We want to be the next 3 Kelrons. And we want to make change and speak like he does. What is the greatest effect that could come from that?
The greatest effect is that you would actually start to see young people standing up for what they believe in. Young people actually coming back home. But then I know you want to touch the negatives. If we all stand up and we all take the stand, then you're going to leave a gap between the young and the old, because then the older persons are going to say, but we don't have, again, the experience.
Yeah.
We don't have the knowledge. Were we there before 10-10-10? Were we there in Claude Watty days? So we don't know where we are actually coming from. That is what persons would actually think. So there needs to be a balance.
Yeah.
A balance between young and old.
Yeah.
Young persons learn from the older ones, and the older ones learn something from the younger ones.
Yeah. You know, one thing that you mentioned as well, culture. You went to Jamaica, you said. I went to Jamaica as well. Jamaican culture is infectious. You get it as soon as you reach there. And it's clear, 2 weeks in, you know exactly what they like, what they don't like, what to say when you're in the public, what to not say.
What to eat.
Where to not buy your food. Everything surrounds the culture of the island. And it's infectious, as I said. St.Maarten is very different. When persons come to St.Maarten, they're 2 weeks in, they're 3 weeks in. They know that, okay, there are a lot of persons here from different places. What is the St.Maarten culture? And why is it so hard to recognize it?
It's not something I would say that is passed down a lot. And even if it is, we are then bombarded with different nationalities because, you know, we're a melting pot here in the Caribbean. So I believe that maybe if it was taught in school, then we could have said it would work. So we have history. We learn St. Martin's history, Arawak's days, come up to Claude Watty, go up to now, 10-10-10 status.
Yeah.
Have the whole history line. Then you go through our culture line. If that was maybe something taught in schools, then I would maybe say someone who spent their time here for 2 weeks would understand and know our culture.
Yeah.
So it's something that has to be not pushed into students, but I'll stick with taught.
And nurtured. Molded.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is something that I find very strange because it's almost as if it should be natural for you to say, hey, this is who we are, and I want to share this with you. And it's surprising that it's not thought to the extent that you're explaining it. Do you see any other young people like yourself around? Because I know you're pushing for young people to step up to the plate. Are there others around?
Yes, there is a movement around. So I have been in a lot of consultations with different youth groups and different young people around this country.
Yeah.
And they are rallying behind, yes, we need representation. We want change. We want to see certain things happen in this country for us. Because young people are sidelined, you know. We are pushed aside. But then when we go out and represent and come out the top this and the top that, then everyone clapped their hands and said, yes, they are St. Martiners. But what have we as a country done for these young people? That's the real question.
And there's so many places we can see this happening. Sports is one. I remember when Casey Carty did an exceptional performance at the World Cup a couple of years ago. He was welcome. How much have we placed in how much investment rather have we placed in cricket, for example? You know, so I can see so much value in what you're saying. But how can we galvanize people to act? There's a quote that says, but it goes somewhere along the line as the older you are, it's harder to get things into you. How do we galvanize persons to change their mindset towards young people?
Again, the balance. I'm a young person. I understand our problems and our situations.
Yeah.
If I'm working with you, an older person, we can have that one-on-one dialogue and I show you why I believe this might be better to cater to our young people and not forgetting our older population.
Yeah. I want you to speak to a young person. They're wondering, you know, whether they should stay on St. Maarten or they should prepare to leave after high school. This person has passion. They're patriotic. They have a good head on their shoulders. They know what they want to achieve in life. They know how the country can change, and they know how they can help the country. But they're considering going to Holland. They're considering going to England. They're considering going to LA. What do you say to that person? To encourage them to stay and let them know that St. Maarten needs them.
You know, I can't stop them from going to school because I hope it's school and then they're coming back. But I would really ask them, can you please stay? If you go to the LA and the Holland, these places already developed. We need persons to come home. I would ask them to please consider coming home and help us build our country for future generations. Because you might not believe it, we need the help.
Yeah.
There are jobs here. If they're not, we'll create more. Come home and help us. Listen, if you leave, who will stay? Who will help us build our country the way we want to see it?
Yeah.
It's one thing to stay away and complain, but it's a next thing to actually complain, come home, and make the change you want to see.
Yeah.
That is the difference. I would plead, beg. You have to show them that they are important. You have to show them that they are the future of this country and talk to them one-on-one and say, come home.
Yeah.
Let them know that we need you and you will be a great asset to our country.
In closing, Kelron, if you should summarize everything that you've learned and put it into the person who you are, and if you should summarize your life and your purpose and your vision for yourself, for St. Maarten, in 2 or 3 sentences, what would a summary be?
I am the change.
I am the change. Kelron Joshua Prince Bellot.
AKA Bello.
Thanks for joining me today.
It's a pleasure.
Wonderful.